Well, small town elementary school in Colorado finds itself at the center of a national attention now and story after deciding to suspend a 6-year-old boy for sexual harassment because he kissed a classmate on the hand. After a whole lot of backlash, the Colorado school today announced that it is downgrading the charges, but not yet clearing the young boy's record. Trace Gallagher, they say that they have to consider not only him, but his, quote, victim.
Right. Right. And now 6-year-old Hunter Yelton's school record, Megan, just says misconduct. There is no more sexual harassment, but the school is getting lambasted for accusing him of sexual harassment in the first place. Now, the superintendent tells us that the whole story is not out there. He won't tell us what the whole story is, except to say that Hunter he kissed the girl on 2 separate occasions and that she wants him to, quote, knock it off. The boy's mom has a different perspective. Listen to her.
She was fine with it. They are boyfriend and girlfriend. The other children saw it and went to the music teacher. And that was the day that I had the meeting with the principal where she first said sexual harassment. This is taking it to an extreme that doesn't need to be met with a 6-year-old.
She claims her son is now asking questions about sex. The school calls the 6-year-old girl, as you said, the victim, and maintains that the right thing happened in this case because it apparently served as a wake-up call to Hunter's parents, and they are now working to solve his discipline problems, and apparently even Hunter is working on it. Listen.
I did something wrong. She sent me to the office, fair and square. I feel sorry. I've been trying to be good at school, but I just have a lot of energy. 6-year-olds, they have a lot of energy.
They do have a lot of energy. By the way, he is now back in school, Megan. The 6-year-old girl's family says they do not want to get involved, but they also add they do not want Hunter to kiss their daughter anymore. Megan.
Oh my God, that child. It's adorable. Trace, thank you. They have a lot of energy. They do. That's true, Hunter. And there is a provocative piece in the Wall Street Journal today suggesting that the Obama administration may bear some of the blame for what's happened here. Really? Joining me now, Dana Lash. She's a conservative radio talk show host and contributor to The Blaze. And Andell Brown, a Florida attorney who handles juvenile delinquency cases. So the piece by James Taranto argues that in April of 2011, Ruslan Ali, then Assistant Education Secretary for Civil Rights, issued a directive threatening to withhold federal money from any school that failed to take a hard enough line against sexual misconduct. And she specified that would include elementary schools, though encouraged the specific steps to depend upon the age of the student. Dana, does the administration have a hand in this here?
A little bit they do, Megan, and this mandate was really controversial when it came out. In fact, Ruslan Ali received quite a lot of criticism for this and eventually ended up stepping down from her post within the Department of Education. But there's very little in this mandate that actually gives any sort of discretion to age of student. It's sort of a universally applied standard, and as you see, it's having a real negative impact, especially here at secondary and elementary schools, as in the case with this little boy who does have a lot of energy. And the threat of withholding money. With this mandate, here's the problem. Ruslan Ali, when she wrote this Dear Colleague letter, there was a few things that she said within this, and one of those was that basically the evidence required would be, oh, more likely than not. You really barely need anything in order to go after the accused, and it kind of attacks the due process that students should be able to enjoy, just like they would be able to enjoy out of a school setting. And it's really the persecution, quite honestly, in my perspective, and looking at it, it polices male behavior. It's the persecution of a guy.
What do you make of it, Andell? Because there's a big difference between a 6-year-old and an 11-year-old at the end of the elementary school thing. I mean, I think you could still make a strong case you shouldn't be bothering 11-year-olds, but 6 years old.
Well, Megan,
I
think this policy is directed at making sure our children are safe, making sure they can learn in an environment where they don't have to deal with any type of harassment of any kind.
Do you think a 6-year-old boy can be a sexual harasser?
Violence or anything else like that?
Do you think a 6-year-old boy can be a sexual harasser?
When a 6-year-old decides that they want to invade the personal space of another child and do with them as they will, then they have to face consequences. There's no way around that. A 6-year-old is old enough to know wrong from right. And that girl's parents said they don't want that boy kissing their daughter anymore.
Okay, so that's fine.
After the fact.
Let me say, so that's fine. If the parents don't want it, then there's a way of shutting it down. Hold on, wait, Andell, hold on. If the parents of the girl don't want it to happen anymore, that's fine, right? There are ways of handling that, and that's happened from the beginning of time. But to label him a sexual harasser, now they've downgraded it to misconduct, Dana, but to label him a sexual harasser seems to be a knee-jerk reaction, and the Journal piece is suggesting it's because they're marching on orders from up high.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem with this mandate, because school administrators are running scared. You have one accusation, and then you have all of your federal funding, which could be held up because of this mandate, which came from the President's Department of Education. And so that's why whenever any accusation like this pops up, school officials jump. They have to, because then their funds could be withheld. And it deprives students of due process. And to label a 6-year-old on his permanent record sexual harassment, that to me is harassment.
What do you think of this, Sandell? Because
let
me just ask the question, and I'll give you the floor.
We're labeling a 6-year-old as sexual harassment. We're blaming that on the policy from the Department of Education. The Department of Education doesn't label a 6-year-old as sexual harasser.
I'm not able to yell, but let me ask you the question. The suggestion here is that this is targeting boys in particular, that this is really going after boys. Your thoughts, quickly.
There's nothing in the policy that says it's targeted at boys. It goes to anyone that conducts themselves in this manner, whether it was a male on male, female on male, female on female. It does not matter according to the policy. That's a matter of opinion, and frankly, it's wrong.
I got to run. I thank you for being here. Good debate.
Megan.
Tell me what you think. Go to facebook.com/The Kelly File or send me a tweet @Megyn Kelly. Stay tuned.